invested part of their newly expanded income in such funds. Sovereign wealth funds acquired powerful new leverage as a result of the credit crunch, commanding resources which the major Western financial institutions palpably lacked. The meltdown of some of Wall Street's largest financial institutions in September 2008 underlined the shift in economic power from the West, with some of the fallen giants seeking support from sovereign wealth funds and the U.S. government stepping in to save the mortgage titans Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, partly in order to reassure countries like China, which had invested huge sums of money in them. If they had withdrawn these, it would almost certainly have precipitated a collapse in the value of the dollar. The financial crisis has graphically illustrated the disparity between an East Asia cash-rich from decades of surpluses and a United States cash-poor following many years of deficits. According to projections by Goldman Sachs, the three largest economies in the world by 2050 will be China, followed by a closely matched America and India some way behind, and then Brazil, Mexico, Russia, and Indonesia. Only 2 European countries feature in the top 10, namely the UK and Germany in 9th and 10th places respectively. Of the present G7, only 4 appear in the top 10. In similar forecasts, PricewaterhouseCoopers suggest that the Brazilian economy could be larger than Japan's, and that the Russian, Mexican, and Indonesian economies could each be bigger than the German, French, and UK economies by 2050. If these projections or something similar are borne out in practice, then during the next 4 decades the world will come to look like a very different place indeed. Such a scenario was far from people's minds in 2001. Following 9/11, the United States not only saw itself as the sole superpower, but attempted to establish a new global role which reflected that preeminence. The neoconservative think tank Project for the New American Century, established in 1997 by, amongst others, Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, and Paul Wolfowitz, adopted a statement of principles which articulated the new doctrine and helped prepare the ground for the Bush administration. As the 20th century draws to a close, the United States stands as the world's preeminent power. Having led the West to victory in the Cold War, America faces an opportunity and a challenge. Does the United States have the vision to build upon the achievements of past decades? Does the United States have the resolve to shape a new century favorable to American principles and interests? In 2004, the influential neoconservative Charles Krauthammer wrote, "On December 26, 1991, the Soviet Union died and something new was born, something utterly new. A unipolar world dominated by a single superpower, unchecked by any rival, and with decisive reach in every corner of the globe. This is a staggering development in history, not seen since the fall of Rome." The new century dawned with the world deeply aware of and preoccupied by the prospect of what appeared to be overwhelming American power. The neoconservatives chose to interpret the world through the prism of the defeat of the Soviet Union and the overwhelming military superiority enjoyed by the United States, rather than in terms of the underlying trend towards economic multipolarity, which was downplayed. The new doctrine placed a premium on the importance of the United States maintaining a huge military lead over other countries in order to deter potential rivals, and on the U.S. pursuing its own interests rather than being constrained either by its allies or international agreements. In the post-Cold War era, U.S. military expenditure was almost as great as that of all the other nations in the world combined. Never in the history of the human race has the military inequality between one nation and all others been so great. The Bush presidency's foreign policy marked an important shift compared with that of previous administrations. The war on terror became the new imperative. America's relations with Western Europe were accorded reduced significance. The principle of national sovereignty was denigrated and that of regime change affirmed, culminating in the invasion of Iraq. Far from the United States presiding over a reshaping of global affairs, however, it rapidly found itself beleaguered in Iraq and enjoying less global support than at any time since 1945. The exercise of overwhelming military power proved of little effect in Iraq, but served to squander the reserves of soft power. In Joseph S. Nye's words, the attractiveness of a country's culture, political ideals, and policies that the United States had accumulated since 1945. Failing to comprehend the significance of deeper economic trends, as well as misreading the situation in Iraq, the Bush administration overestimated American power and thereby overplayed its hand, with the consequence that its policies